Next step, this will be to go from direction to accumulation. If you remember, we have now got our flow direction. The cells have all been analyzed, and the direction of the steepest slope has been found, will be found once this is run, and then we need to accumulate the water flow over each cell. How many cells are sending their water to me? It asks each cell. So that's that analysis is another flow tool. So we go back up to here, and we've already got flow in there, and it's flow accumulation. So we can click there, and that gives us our flow accumulation. We try and bind that one to that one. That's our input flow direction. Yep. Now let's just right click on that, and we go open and look at the properties. So our input flow direction raster is flow direction. That makes sense, I think. The output accumulation raster, let's set that to be flow accumulation. There we go. The input weight raster, we won't bother. This is just an adjustment that you can have for differing amounts of, say, rainfall coming in, which I said we weren't going to do, so we're not going to do it because that requires another raster that would be a pain in the moment to create, and not necessary for this introductory exercise. So the output data type. Here we're looking at, it's set to float at the moment, which won't make much sense really for us because we're counting the number of cells, and it's going to be a whole number count, so we want integer. We want integer because the number of cells is always going to be a whole number. We're not going to have partial cells. That might have happened if we had weighting, but we don't. And then the flow direction type for the analysis is going to be this D8. We're going to continue with that. So we click on there, click on OK, and that's done. So now the next step is this whole thing with deciding when we have a river. So if we go back to the instructions, we're down there. If we look up here, we said there. At some point, we've now done this step, the accumulation, and we need to make the decision about when we turn these cells blue, when they become rivers. So that's the thing we're going to do now. So we're in here in this part, and it's this condition. We carry on down, and we want the condition tool, because the condition says if a cell has a certain quality, then it is something, do something. On condition of this being true, do that. So we'll look for the con tool. We go up here and we type in con, and there are several suggestions. The spatial analyst con tool. Click on that. That comes out. Drag an arrow over to it. The input conditional raster. Yep. Now it's still not happy, so we click on open there, and that's our the input conditional raster. That's the raster that's going to be analyzed to see if whatever we're looking for is true. The input true raster or constant. So if the condition that we set were true, what would the result be? And this is where we would pick the results from. We can tell the tool to say, if in our flow accumulation raster we have a value greater than such and such, then go to this raster and pick the value that you find there from that cell. But that's not what we're going to do here. We're just going to set the value to 1. Right, so we've set the value to 1. So every time the cell fulfills this particular criterion that we're going to set, this condition, it will then receive a new value of 1. Otherwise, it will receive a value of 0 or no data. We don't need to worry about that one. The output raster, we're going to call something other than the default name. Ac greater than, I believe, is the name I suggested you use. That will become more clear later on. It's the accumulation greater than a particular number, and this we're setting to this name for now because later on in the exercise you will have various different values, so we don't want to be too specific early on. But now we need an expression. So far we know what raster we're going to evaluate. We know what value to set when we find the condition true and we know where to store that information. But what is the condition? What is the expression? So we click there, and when the value in this flow accumulation raster is equal to or greater than, so greater than or equal to, and we'll start off with 2000. So what I'm saying is, in the flow accumulation raster, if the cell has a value equal to or greater than 2000, then it is a thing. It is something I'm interested in. So I'm going to set the value to 1. If it doesn't have that, I'm not interested in it. So set the value to no data or 0. Depending on how this is set up, it will be no data. So it's just simply, if the condition is fulfilled, set the value to 1. Okay. Click on OK there, and then this becomes colourful. Let's just quickly save that for now so that we don't lose anything. That step was particularly important in ArcMap. Any of you trying to do this in ArcMap, you can do exactly the same thing in ArcMap. Model Builder had a nasty habit of crashing everything like that with no warning whatsoever. So it was very important to save your steps all the way along. It's just a habit to get into. Right, so here we have Model Builder, and it's starting to look a bit messy. So let's just click on Auto Layout, and it tidies things up for us. Good. So let's finish that video there because we've come quite a way now. We've done these 2 steps, and the next thing after this will be to start turning these into not actual rivers, but objects that the GIS might recognize as rivers. That'll be in the next video.